Onto this offense. It still looked clunky at times, but it looked better as well. And I think that's the case for each of the last second halves. It seems like it was certainly the case in Indy. It was the case again this last week after a clunky start. It's not perfect. It looks like they're close. Caleb not having as many miscues maybe with DJ and Rome, and he talked about it with you guys again today. If they start figuring those things out, it does kind of look and feel like they're getting close to being as explosive and as efficient as they want to be, doesn't it?
It does, and I know it's not the sexiest thing, but sometimes just taking the check down is a sign of growth, that you don't have to big play hunt. And I'm not saying that Caleb has, but, what's indicative of the fact that they have not gotten the deep ball going, the, downfield passing attack is, certainly his numbers against it. Maybe it's the too high shells that he's often facing, and that's allowing him to figure out, how can I still be an efficient passer without going outside the confines of what's comfortable for me. And it seems like he's very comfortable with is getting the ball out fast. Some of these screen passes, going on the intermediate stuff underneath. Like, that was where he was, like, from a clean pocket. He's a check down king right now. And that's not said as a bad thing. I know that there's such a negative connotation with that because it makes it sound like you're a game manager. Yep. And we know from his college tape, he's capable of so much more than that. In due time, that very well could come. But as you're trying to get your footing in this offense, not having to do too much too soon, as you're getting comfortable, as you're getting on the same page, so you don't have miscues on plays that should have been touchdowns, like the wide open one that he had to DJ. And, those two have talked about that a lot this last couple of days. It's okay during those times to make sure that you're doing the easy stuff, or the perceived easy stuff, at like an A+ level. So I feel like they're in a good spot, and it can be cleaner. The operation got better from week to week, how quickly he was getting to the line of scrimmage, how it felt like, I know that, Matt Eberflus didn't think it was necessarily him seeing defenses better, but, or the Rams defense better than he had maybe weeks 1 through 3. But every player I've talked to the last couple of days said that they think he's identifying things pre-snap and even post-snap in a more efficient way than he did week 1, which is to be expected because of the growth that he's shown from week to week through the first quarter of the season.
Broach a topic about clean pockets and those who are responsible for them. The offensive line, much maligned, much criticized, really, and they should be criticized. This is a unit that has not performed well. What will they look like this week?
Well, it's not looking good for Tevin Jenkins, at least right now. We know that he's not practicing today. He had to, when you leave the game and you get downgraded from questionable to out, that's not a great sign. For his sake, with the hip injury and the timing of it, we know in a couple weeks is when he told us, the Bears have told him, that's when they can start some contract extension talks. So just from a long-term viability thing, he's got to get back out there. But in the event he can't, they're rolling with the unit that they had in his absence, which means that Matt Pryor stays at left guard and Nate Davis stays at right guard. Is it perfect? No. But did they scheme things around some of their protection issues? I know that 2 of the sacks were called back. The official stat line is going to say that he had 3. Yeah. There's a lot that can be cleaned up in terms of protection, but this is the group you have. Like, this is the group that you have to roll with and do your best to try to mitigate some of those issues up front by max protecting, by bringing in other guys to help out, and making sure that you're scheming up throws that are going to get Caleb away from pressure and outlets for the blitz, good matchups that they can take advantage of so he's not under duress.
I guess I could be a little guilty of being the body language warrior here, and I tend to hate doing that, but watching DJ Moore right now, and listen, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the incident in Houston, that was nothing to me. I mean, I've got no problem with a player being a little visibly frustrated when things aren't going well. It's some of the other things, though, on the tape that are maybe, I don't want to say alarming, because that's not what it is, Courtney. Odd, surprising. The way they're using DJ Moore, his body language, maybe the failure to be going max effort every time, and maybe that's unrealistic. That you're out there for 65 snaps. Not every one of them is going to be max effort. I get that, but I don't know. It doesn't look nothing about it looks great right now. Like the performance, where they have him, what they're trying to do with him, his body language. Like, why is this happening? This is a guy that we hold in very high regard. He got paid. He's used to dealing with, whether it's young and experienced, just flat out bad quarterback play. What is going on with DJ Moore exactly?
Well, I mean, you go back to last year, weeks 1 through 4, it looked awful. They weren't featuring him. They weren't, trying to scheme ways to get him the ball. And then all of a sudden they did. And more times than not, when he's getting close to double-digit targets, they're going to win a game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to follow that exact same blueprint. There's little, and the thing is, he's very self-aware about it. When he talked to us today just about the frustrations he felt, he's not sugarcoating it and saying that we're seeing something that we aren't. Now, I don't know what to make about him sitting on the bench by himself, that tweet that's been sent around, where people are, clipping things that they either see on the broadcast or things that they see at the game. Like, sometimes guys just need a minute. I think we need to remember that when we're talking about the peak of competition here. He had just missed a wide open, he and Caleb, for a number of different reasons, did not connect on that touchdown pass that would have, given them a much more sizable lead at halftime. That's okay to be frustrated. If I was a fan, I'd rather have my receiver not just like, okay, whatever. Like, he said it's a dagger play right there. Like that, and that's something that I think helped motivate them to make sure that the touchdown happens, for Caleb to recognize, hey, there's a linebacker on this guy. That is a matchup that you have to take advantage of. And even hearing DJ talk about it today, shoot, if they don't hit that play, I think there's probably much more of the frustrations that, are coming out, because it just seems like you've got to take your layups. Like, small term, immediate term, on a play like that, big, like long term, or I guess like, in bigger picture, taking the layups and getting these wins right now, where the schedule is favorable, where you have teams with losing records that you're facing. And, one's a home game, one's a winless team in Jacksonville that you've placed in London. It seems like that to me is that sense of urgency that may come out as frustration, but it's not like a negative tear the locker room apart frustration, if that makes sense. This is, we realize that, we have a rookie quarterback. If you're DJ Moore, he's played with a lot of different quarterbacks, 13 of them that he's caught touchdown passes from in his career. It takes time, and I think that because he's so honest about, I'm frustrated, but it's not at Caleb. It's at, the play that didn't work out there. That shows you, honestly, that balks the idea of that diva receiver label that nobody in their right mind would ever put on somebody like DJ Moore. But in those moments, you see those things and you start to have questions about, okay, is something not right here? I really like the way that he explained it today, because I felt like it shed some light on, yeah, of course I'm frustrated. It should have been a touchdown. I should have had, another one in this game. And those are things that are more easily correctable than not, which means that if they can just get, make sure, like, mitigate those issues going forward, that you won't see that stuff boiling over on the sideline.
Yeah, any questions early last year were kind of answered in those back-to-back games against Denver and Washington especially. So maybe we see that very soon, maybe even starting this week at Soldier against another defense that's gettable, just like last week as Carolina rolls to town. Anything else we need to know for Week 5, Courtney?
The Carolina trade, of course, came up today. Yeah. It always will when these two teams play. And the thing that we need to remember is this trade's not over. Like, for as much as the Bears got out of it, whether it was DJ Moore, the Darnell Wright pick, Tyreek Stevenson, it was Torrey Taylor, 122, I believe, came from that trade as well, or at least, them trading back in, or however it worked. I mean, there's just so many pieces that helped them build this team, and the way that Matt Eberflus talked about it, there's a lot of luck that went into that. But the way that they timed this thing and just, took a gamble on it, and that they have potentially, the Panthers, are the worst team in football again, they might have the 33rd pick in the draft in 2025. It's crazy to see, like, where these two teams went when they were at, like, kind of their own mesh point in March of 2023, and where the Bears went from there to where, the Carolina Panthers has gone. It's felt here in this building.